Thank you for attending the third session of our Community of Inquiry. And today we're going to talk about the framework and practical inquiry model. And again, I'm Trina Penn Bluebell. It's nice to see both of you back again. Before we begin, go ahead and remember to reduce distractions by muting your phone and find a quiet, private area to work as we complete the training together. If you would, go ahead and check your settings. One, just make sure your audio is working. If you would unmute your microphone and just say hello.
Hello.
Great. Go ahead and mute again. And then 2, click on the participants button to see all the attendees. 3, you can click on the chat button. And if you would, just put in there what grade and content you teach. That way I know your chat is working. Great. And just a note that I'll be recording the session today. Number 4, if you would click on the annotation button, it's the squiggly little line in your upper right-hand corner. This will bring up your annotation bar. If you could just raise your hand at the bottom of your screen with the little hand emoji and let me know that that's working. Perfect, great. And Gary, is that working for you? Great, perfect.
Thank you very much.
Okay, today we're going to talk about Chapter 5 in the Thinking Collaboratively Learning in a Community of Inquiry book that we've been reading. Today's objectives: participants can describe the elements of the COI framework and explain how each impacts the learning experience. And participants can describe the practical inquiry model and how it supports deep learning in the classroom. Inquiry. Inquiry is a collaborative approach to problem solving that takes place in the context of reflective discourse and interactive questioning. It should be flexible and non-linear. So the process is supported by the framework to support deep learning, and we're going to go into that framework a little deeper. So the COI framework, that's the Community of Inquiry framework. It provides a theoretical framework to understand how a purposeful learning environment can influence student learning. This framework includes the social presence, the cognitive presence, and the teaching presence, as it is shown here. And a presence is defined as a sense of identity created through purposeful and open communication. As this picture shows, it starts to help students understand how they fit within a particular group. The 3 elements, as I said, were the cognitive, social, and teaching presence. This also includes the social presence itself, includes engagement with the participants. The cognitive presence includes engagement with content, and the teaching presence includes engagement with the goals and the direction. I think what's important to sort of point out here is that the setting and the climate are controlled both within the social presence and the teaching presence. So the participants or the students also have responsibility for setting the climate, and that supporting the discourse takes place within the social presence and the cognitive presence. So this really takes on the students having a huge responsibility with that discourse. Assess your thinking. Place a green arrow next to the element that includes engagements with participants, supporting discourse, and setting climate. If you're attending the reading or the recording, if you would go ahead and pause here and write a reflection for each of the elements of COI framework in your notebook. Perfect. Good. The answer is, of course, social presence. Social presence is a focus on group cohesion, group identity, and a sense of belonging while ensuring free and open communication within the group. You can see here it also includes the personal, affective, or emotional part of learning. The cognitive presence utilizes the practical inquiry model, We'll talk about that a little bit more, but you can see that it includes the triggering event, an exploration, some integration of the ideas that have been learned, and the resolution. And then the teaching presence, the third part of the COI framework, deals with the leadership to keep a learning community functioning effectively and efficiently with design, facilitation, and direction and instruction. Again, assess your thinking. Which of the COI framework elements includes a triggering event, exploration, integration, and resolution? If you are attending the recording, go ahead and pause here. You can write the phrase along with the indicators for each in your notebook. If you would, use the pin tool on your annotation to circle the correct answer. Perfect. Cognitive presence. Great. Thank you. I just want to take a little time to reflect. This helps with our professional development as we move forward. When thinking about the principles and practices that support deeper learning, use the shape tool below to reflect. Place a green check next to the area of planning in which you feel most confident, and place a red X next to any area you feel support would be helpful. This will help in sort of put direction to any of the sessions that we may have in the future. If you are watching the recorded version, you should pause here and write a reflection about strengths and weaknesses for the principles and practices. Okay, so definitely, I think cognitive presence, as teachers, teaching presence seems really comfortable for us, and I think designing lessons always seems really comfortable for us. The social presence part can be a little bit of a struggle and sort of figuring out how to facilitate that sort of social dynamic within students. So that's something that we could definitely take a look at in the future. Social presence can be supported in the classroom by allowing students time to build rapport and connectedness while respecting others' ideas and emotions. Cognitive presence. It's important to follow the practical inquiry model as a process when designing lessons in the classroom in order to support deep learning. This is that part where we are talking about having that shared world where triggering events begin the lesson and then they move into more of a reflected dynamic with exploration and integration. And then finally, in resolution, you may come back and have additional discourse within the groups. Teaching presence, the emphasis of teaching presence will vary throughout the framework, and it will be important to balance facilitation and direct instruction. Assess your thinking. Which of the following framework would include content planning, activity planning, and facilitation? Please use the shape tool to circle which is the correct answer. If you are watching the recording, go ahead and pause here, write a reflection about the strengths and weaknesses in your notebook. Absolutely. Teaching presence. Good. Okay. We're going to work on this next part, which is practical inquiry through a breakout session. I'm going to drop in the chat the link to get to the case study. Do that now. Yep. Make sure you click on that link before going into the breakout. Number two, the directions are on the slide document, but I'll also show these here before I send you into your breakout sessions. You'll have 3 minutes to complete that task, and then you will automatically return to the main room. If you are watching this recording, go ahead and pause here, and you can follow the case study link to the document that I sent in the email and follow the directions that are posted there. Are there any questions before we move on? Okay, this is what the breakout looks like. There's a preview and discussion asking you to reflect on your thinking. And then the questions are, as student cognition increases into exploration and integration, do you think the emphasis on social presence increases or decreases? And what about teaching presence? I'll go ahead and start your breakout sessions now. So while I am watching the information that the students are putting into their document, I can see that each are involved within their breakout sessions and that they are on task and understand what's being asked. Good. I can see that they have their responses in there. So in just a couple of seconds, I'll let them finish up and then I will return them to the main session. Hi, welcome back. Hopefully that session you were able to have some good conversation. Would one of you like to raise your hand and just share a reflection from your study and discussion with your group? Gary?
Make sure I'm unmuted. So my suggestion was that social presence and teaching presence is a balancing act. I would say that social presence increases, but teaching presence increases at the same time.
Okay, and Jen, I saw your response there too, that you were talking about social presence decreasing and the teaching presence increasing. And I think that's fair to say throughout this process. The shared world would be when that social dynamic would be very strong and that triggering event. But as cognition increases, students probably go a little more private and reflective in that area. So you would see social dynamic somewhat decrease, and then the teaching dynamic would have to become stronger as more direct instruction would need to take place. The CLI framework, with that, we have the opportunity to impact student growth through utilizing the approach and impacting how students think and learn for the better. It is a balance. The social presence, cognitive presence, teacher presence during the educational experience, we can impact learning and outcomes. So we're going to work on a poll to assess your thinking. In order to enrich the educational experience, which elements should we consider when planning and designing content, lessons, and assessments? Choose all that apply. I'm going to go ahead and open up and launch that poll for you. If you could just show me through raising your hand that you can see that on your side. Good. Okay.
Mine just says poll locked.
Let me see if I can open it again for you, Gary. Maybe I can close it and launch it again and see if that works. Can you see it now?
Perfect.
Great.
No, it still says poll locked. Am I doing something wrong?
Jen, I can see that you're answering it.
Mine says poll locked too.
Let's try it one more time. It says that it is active for 4 participants on my side.
Mine goes straight to Pollock again,
Okay.
just so you're
Well,
aware.
let me show you the. Try it one more time for me.
Okay, there we go. Great,
Great.
thank you.
Perfect.
Did you get it?
Perfect. Okay. So the three are all correct. The social presence, cognitive, and teaching assessments. Assessment presence is actually not one of those in the framework. Let's try one more of these polls. Hopefully we can get this one to work. I'm going to launch it now. This one is what are the 4 phases of practical inquiry model? And
Okay, I have Pollock again.
try it one more time.
There we go.
Perfect. Great. I can see your responses. Perfect. Okay. So triggering event, exploration, integration, and resolution. Explanation is not one of those phases. As a wrap up, please write down any questions that you might have from today's session. You can send them to me via email before any of our next sessions. I'll email everyone a recorded version of the session. And in case there were other participants, let them know that will be sent out. At this time, you can reflect, take some time to write down in your notebook how you can manage content load, design assessments, and help diagnose misconceptions within your classroom. Also include a definition of the categories and indicators for each of the COI framework. Any questions as we end this session? Perfect.